welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about angles. Let's get started. Let's start with a definition of what an angle is. So you might want to write this down if you've got your notebook nearby. An angle is when two lines, line segments, or rays connect to a common point. The angle is created by the space between those two lines, and we can say that this space forms the angle. Another important term that you're going to want to remember is the word degrees. Now, we measure our angles in degrees. We're actually measuring the distance between the two lines. And the space between them, near the point where they connect, that forms the angle. So why are degrees important? Well, that's how we classify angles. Let's take a look here. We classify angles by their size, and we use degrees to measure the size of angles. When we know the degrees of an angle, we can use the correct words to classify or identify it. And you'll see what this means as we get further and further through this lesson. So this little symbol here, it looks kind of like a floating circle. That means degrees. And the number of degrees tells us how open or closed the angle is. The smaller the number of degrees, or more closed the angle is. The smaller or more closed the angle is. And angle sizes can range from 0 to 360 degrees. And 360 degrees would be a complete circle. So here are some examples of angle measurements. Here's an example of 360 degrees. So all the way around that circle is 360 degrees. 3/4 of the way around is 270 degrees, and halfway, a semicircle or a half circle, is 180 degrees, and that will become important to remember as we progress through this lesson. All right, so we're going to be talking about the following types of angles. We're going to be talking about acute, obtuse, right, and straight angles. Starting with acute. An acute angle measures less than 90 degrees. If it measures between 1 and 89 degrees, it is acute. When I was in geometry, I always used to think about the word cute and what is cute, that little babies are cute. So if it's less than 90 degrees, it's smaller, it's acute, it is an acute angle. Maybe that'll help you too. An obtuse angle measures more than 90 degrees. Angles greater than 90 degrees and less than 180 degrees, those are considered to be obtuse. And if you look at the bottom here, you can see some pictures of acute angles. See how they're all less than 90 degrees? And then we also have obtuse angles, and they are greater than 90 degrees. Now, when we're talking about 90 degrees, you're probably saying, well, that's great, Miss Campbell, but what about if it's 90 degrees? Well, that's probably the easiest angle of all. If it is 90 degrees, then it is a right angle, because right angles measure exactly 90 degrees. They're one of the most important concepts that you need to know in geometry. They're found in squares, they're found in rectangles and triangles, everywhere in the real world. I would challenge you to go out and see how many right angles you could find in any given day. They're out there everywhere. Here are some examples of right angles in this rectangle, in this square, and in this triangle. See that little blue box? That's important to note too. When you see that little small square, that is indicating to you that the angle is in fact a right angle. And finally, let's talk about straight angles. So a straight angle measures exactly 180 degrees and it forms a straight line. That one's pretty simple. All right, everyone, now you try. If you need to, go ahead and pause your video, take a look at these angles, and see if you can classify them. Good luck. All right, everyone, how did you do? Did you classify them correctly? Let's take a look at our answers. Number 1 was obtuse, because you can see it's bigger than 90 degrees. Number 2 was straight. It's a straight line, straight angle, 180 degrees. Number 3 was acute, smaller than 90 degrees. And number 4 was a right angle. Did you get that? All right, everyone. Well, that just about does it for the first part of this lesson on angles. Join us next time when we do the second part. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.